So the pioneers used to use a handful of horsetails as kind of a steel wool or Brillo pad because they were scratchy and rough. Moving up, we have ferns. Ferns, this is the Maidenhair Fern. Put that up there. There we go. The Maidenhair Fern has vascular tissue, has roots, but does not have seeds, and no flowers, and no fruits. Oftentimes you'll see a fern with little brown spots on the underside of the leaf, and those spots are the sori where these spores are produced. So you're never going to see fern seeds. If somebody tries to sell you fern seeds, don't buy them. You're never going to see fern flowers or fern fruits. They're a relatively primitive plant. But we have them here in Konza, the Maidenhair Fern. Okay. Moving up. Now I didn't put the term on here, but I'm going to go ahead and put it here in the light. A gymnosperm, sperm refers to seed. Gymno means naked. The gymnasium, yep, people ran around naked in the gymnasium. The gymnosperm literally means naked seeds. And the gymnosperm group of plants are the first ones to have seeds. Seeds are a good thing. Like I said, if this was a spore, this little purple dot was a spore, in relative size, that would be a seed. Seed is much larger than a spore. A seed has an embryo, a multicellular embryo, a little baby plant. Break open a bean seed, and you'll see a little baby plant in there, just waiting to start growing. And the rest of the seed is food, very starchy food. So it's like a little package. The spore is a single cell. Which one do you think is going to be more successful, a spore or a seed? Seed. Yeah. So seeds are a good thing to have. And the gymnosperms were the first groups of plants to have seeds. But their seeds were naked. What that means is they're not surrounded by a fruit. A fruit helps to disperse a seed. So you can think of like an apple with the seeds in the middle. An apple is there to entice maybe a deer to eat the apple, and then it eats the seeds along with it. Traverses away from the parent plant, defecates the seeds along with a nice big pile of fertilizer, and you have effective seed dispersal. Gymnosperms hadn't quite figured that out yet. Their seeds are naked. They will have little wings on them often for dispersal, but they're not the best at seed dispersal, not anywhere near as much as the next group. One group of the gymnosperms are the conifers. You've probably heard that one before. And the conifers are going to be the gymnosperms. Again, you're not going to see flowers, you're not going to see fruit, but you will see seeds. And the conifers are plants that have seeds and have leaves that are usually thin and waxy. The conifers have real good skills at living in dry climates, whether it's high elevation or dry desert. Yes, ma'am?
I have a question about that seed, because you know, if you eat juniper berries,
Not a true berry.
it's okay. So, and you know, they use them for flavoring gin and stuff like that.
Modified
so
scales.
It's a modified what?
Scale.
Scale. Okay, so that covering
It's
is
a
an
waxy, modified scale,
that
not a
can
true
have-
berry.
can have moisture and some content to it, but
Right,
okay.
but not a true fruit.
Okay.
To have a fruit, you have to have a flower.
Okay. Got it.
So we have, and you can check your Genestown reference, we have one naturalized, I don't think it's native, but we have one naturalized conifer on Konza, and there it is, just waiting to get burned. The eastern red cedar or juniper.
What's the difference between naturalized and native?
Well, native would be part of a prairie naturalized and shown up and has spread. Anyone else want to comment on naturalized? Naturalized generally means has feral.
Yeah, because I used to think of eastern red cedars as being just pervasive and also
They're not supposed to be here.
invasive.
Both.
They're not supposed to be here.
Right.
They're not original.
I think I'm thinking of like Pharaoh is a good,
Okay.
so naturalized.
Really, they weren't here before humans or naturalized?
I wasn't here before humans, so I don't know.
How long does it have to be here before it becomes?
That's what
Native
I'm
or
gonna do.
naturalized?
That's what I'm
You
gonna
guys
do.
need to ask Gene Town that
Okay.
question.
Uh,
Moving on. All right. So the angiosperms, angio means vessel born. Vessel born seed. So here we've got seeds surrounded by a fruit that will bear the seed to disperse it away from the parent. Why would the parent want the seed to get away from it?
That's what all parents want.
Why do you want to get rid of your children? Why do you want to get rid of your children?
Well, you don't want the competition.
There it is, because kids eat all the food. They're cleaning out your groceries. They're making a mess. They're competing with you. And so just like anything else, you want your kids to go eat somebody else's food. So spreading the seed. The angiosperms have flowers. The flowers produce the fruits surround the seeds and disperse the seeds. Konza has 576 species of vascular plants. Most of them are angiosperms. Okay, gold star. Well, Nancy's here, so gold star for the name of this plant.
It's a
That's
Ruellia.
Very good. Fringe leaf Aurelia. And since I've been kind of following along Gene Town's publication, this is the first family of angiosperms in Gene Town's publication. It's like, okay, fringe leaf Aurelia, that's what we'll put up there as our classic example of an angiosperm. Okay, now notice that I made a note of the large variety of leaves in the angiosperms, which leads us to our next page and our two basic groups of angiosperms. And here's where we talk about the monocots and dicots. The monocots are the grassy plants, and the dicots are the broadleaf plants, and we can see the basic difference in leaves there. The term monocot and dicot refers to their seeds. A monocot, the classic monocot, is a corn seed, and the classic dicot is a bean seed. A bean seed you can split into two halves. So there's dicotyledons, the two halves of the seed. Monocots, should have used orange. The monocots have just one seed. You can't split it into two halves. It has mono or one cotyledon. There's a bit of corn seed. So we'll be taking a look at plant anatomy, and we'll be breaking down the plant anatomy on monocot versus dicots throughout. And as we go out today, keep in mind what plants are monocots, and that one's easy. What are the basic monocots of a prairie?
Grass.
Yeah, it's going to be your grasses. Oops. There we go. It's going to be the grasses. And the basic dicots of a prairie are the wildflowers. Not that grasses don't bloom, the grasses do bloom, but the showy wildflowers are going to be your dicots. So plant anatomy, based on what the plant looks like. To understand taxonomy, you really need to understand anatomy. And I see a lot of the intermingling between the plant taxonomy and plant anatomy. It also helps you to understand how the plants work, so you can interpret that to your audience. We're going to start with the plant organs. Plants do have organs: roots, stems, leaves, and reproductive structures. And one question I always ask my students, do all plants have flowers? So knowing what you know now, do all plants have flowers?
No.
No, but all plants have reproductive structures, and that's going to be one of their organs. Do all plants have roots? No. Not all plants have stems, not all plants have true leaves. But we're going to start with the roots, and from here on out we're talking about angiosperms and monocots versus dicots. The functions of the roots are to absorb water. That's going to be the biggest one. They also anchor the plant, and they store the two things that plants value the most, water and starch. So we're going to see modified roots that store water and store starch. There's a difference between monocot and dicot root systems. Monocots on the left have a fibrous root system. If you need the spelling, is the previous. They have a fibrous root system, and dicots have a tap root system. There they are. They have two completely different approaches to survival. The monocot approach to survival is to send out a root system that's like a sponge. It's relatively shallow and you spread it out. So you can take advantage of intermittent rain events. If it rains, you've got this network, this broad, shallow network of roots to immediately suck up the water as it appears. The other approach to life is the taproot. And the taproot is counting on reaching below ground permanent sources of water. So if you can reach that below ground permanent source of water, you are in high cotton. You are in good shape.
Is a palm tree then the left one? Because I always see palm trees like the left roots, not the right root.
Palm trees are monocots.
Are they monocots?
Really? That explains it. Okay.
Thank you.
So if you can live long enough to get your taproot down to permanent water, then that's going to be a stronger adaptive advantage. Now, the grasses have it figured out. You know, they take up the entire top 2 feet of soil with their roots. If you're a dicot, you have a hard time competing with that. But the problem is, if it never rains, the adaptive advantage would be to have a taproot to get down to the below ground water. But you have to have lived long enough to get down there. So in areas that have shallow groundwater, a taproot is going to be the advantage. In areas that have deep groundwater and have very intermittent rain events, which type of strategy is going to be best? Deep groundwater and irregular rain events. You want to get the water as quickly as you can when it does rain.
So you want the sponge.
You want the sponge. You want the sponge. So the weather dictates the survival strategy. The climate dictates the survival strategy. We've been kind of building on this. The geology dictates the type of soil. The climate dictates the type of weather. So you've got your soil and your weather, and those two things together are going to dictate who survives. Yeah, Karen?